too.
Thank you. Everybody be seated, please. Now I want to recognize our special guest and our speaker for tonight, Dr. Who, on behalf of the members of 1058.
Dear my warriors, dear my friends, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to take you back to this night. It's about 33 years ago, that night. It's the darkest night of my life I ever remember. I was sitting in the room with several others, and we were waiting for the right time to go to the boat. I waited and waited, and suddenly I heard the loud noise from the bay door pushed open. I stood up and looked out my room. I saw a man with a long rifle in his hands. I immediately recognized that the Viet Cong police. I turned to the back door. I ran out of the house as quickly as I could. The fear was tremendous. My breathing was so fast. My heart was racing heavily. And the panic was unbelievable. I was so scared because I knew I would get shot, killed, or captured and sent to the deep jungle for the hard labor by the communists of Vietnam. My name is Dr. Du Hua, and I'm from Vietnam. I was born in the early 60s, and I was born in the war zones. I saw the terrible killings and the destruction of the war when I was just a little boy. I witnessed the brutal acts of the communists throughout my childhood, almost every night. I heard the sound of machine guns and explosions. The war had thrown the poor families into a complete turmoil. My mother had to work extremely hard so our family could survive. The communists of Vietnam have caused the killings and destructions that burn in my brain. They have no regard for peace or the life of the innocent people. Even though I was just a little boy, but I remember very well, during the New Year holiday celebration of 1968, they took advantage of the people who were caught completely unaware and launched a massive attack to the South Vietnamese people. But the communists failed to realize that the people of the South were strong and brave. The South Vietnamese and the American armed forces stood up together and pushed back the barbaric demons. The South Vietnamese and the American armed forces decisively defeated the communists in the Tet Offensive 1968, even though the American media misrepresented that success by reporting exactly the opposite. Please let me repeat this. The South Vietnamese and American armed forces decisively defeated the communists in the Tet Offensive 1968, even though the American media misrepresented by that success by reporting exactly the opposite. After deterring the huge invasion from the north, the people of the south trying to resume their normal lives. However, the North Vietnamese communists continue their evil ambition to take over the internationally recognized, free and independent sovereign nation of South Vietnam. The war went on. My family, like many others, continue struggling for our lives. Then came the darkest day of in April 1975. The North Vietnamese Army launched a massive full-scale invasion of the South Vietnam with 200,000 troops that brought the collapse, the fall of Saigon, the tragic disaster, and the suffering to the South Vietnamese people. South Vietnam have fallen into the hands of the communists. We have lost our country. We have lost our freedom. Consequently, the people had to accept their fates. We had to live under the cruel oppression of the communists. I was just a young boy and experienced the first very hard manual labels throughout my teen years. It was obvious that there was no future. And I knew I must find a way to get out. Just like millions of my desperate, frightened people who risked their life to escape the communist oppressions, I knew I wanted to follow the path that my brothers and sisters had been fighting for, the path of freedom. I still remember so well how our men and women fought for freedom. My Vietnam veterans, I saw you there. You have been in my village, scouting and fighting the enemies. I saw you standing tall, here orderly, with the South Vietnamese soldiers, defending us against the communists. I saw you helping the sick and the injured Vietnamese people. I saw you protecting my village, making me and all the children laugh. You brought freedom and security to my village. You are our angels. I knew you were serving and fighting not only for your country, but you also fighting for more than 15 million men, women, and children of the South Vietnam. Since you left my village, I tried to follow your path, but the path didn't come easy for me. I had tried to escape 11 times before I could make it out to the oceans, but the danger did not stop there. Our small boat was very crowded, desperate people. We sailed for 5 days and nights in the deep sea with strong winds and big waves, and this tiny, unworthy watercraft did not reach our destinations. We were lost. Food and water running out. Fuel almost gone, and worst storm was about to come. The people in the boats, they knew that they were facing imminent death. They began praying to God and asking God to take their souls to heaven, while their bodies would sink to the deepest ocean floor. My dear friends, there was almost 500,000 boat people lost their life through their escapes in many different ways. And so thousands of the people got killed escaping by foot through the jungles of Laos and Cambodia. Their desperate journeys were full of great dangers and horrors. Their little hopeless boats were not just facing the strong storm and big waves, they also facing the worst nightmare of the Thai pirates. The animal cruelty, beast bites, beaten, drop everyone, and left their wives and their husbands and their families. And then in many cases, They just killed the entire helpless people on board. I was so fortunate and blessed. In September 1982, I finally had an airplane ticket to go to the United States of America. It was the happiest day of my life. I knew I was about to reach my destination, the destination of freedom. People like us, who have experienced the tyranny from the communists, knew very well freedom is not free. My Vietnam veterans, thank you for showing me that you have so much humanity in your heart. And thank you for showing me what freedom is all about. I knew I was blessed and lucky. I have a place to escape to. That place called the United States of America, the last stand on earth. But I came here not to say thank you. I came here to tell you, December of 1987, I was very proud to become one of you. As soon as I had studied so hard and learned how to speak and read and write English, I joined the United States Navy. My dream came true. I joined the United States Navy so that I could serve and give back my great new motherland. Yes, I was standing tall, side by side with my fellow servicemen and women to help protect our beautiful and decent world of free enterprise and democracy. I was so proud and happy to serve my new country on the magnificent aircraft carrier CV-66 USS America. What a beautiful name. I have gone through the most struggles to seek freedom. Then I fought to protect it. Freedom is not free. I realized that people shouldn't take our precious freedom for granted. I therefore wrote the book, The Escapes and My Journey to Freedom. My Vietnam veterans, I wrote the books through my eyes. This story is a story of life and death, good and evil, hardship and fortune. But the most important thing of all, this book will tell people freedom is not free. I would like people to understand the real faces of the communists of Vietnam. I also need to tell people the other side of the Vietnam War after the fall of Saigon. My Vietnam veterans, I saw you there. How could I thank you enough? More than 58,479 members of American Armed Forces and more than 300,000 of South Vietnamese Armed Forces paid their ultimate sacrifice. God bless their souls. There were more than 662 American prisoners of war in the Vietnam War. How can we ever begin to imagine what our POW went through with the barbaric communist of Vietnam? The brutality of the cruel and ruthless communists caused great pain and suffering were far beyond any description. My POWs, thank you for your sacrifice. There are almost 3,000 missing in action. Decades have passed, but I knew the agonies are still with their families. Today, I would like to thank to those brave souls who ultimately sacrifice and make the world a better place for all humanity. Thank you. Our country was founded upon the noble principle of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. We must strongly reject dictatorship, communism, and extremism, which cause so much suffering. Our leaders and our military have been fighting for and defending our principle, not only for all Americans, but also for our friends and allies. President Kennedy had earlier authorized and sent 16,000 advisors to South Vietnam in support of this noble cause. As the war was escalating, the invasion of the Communists of North Vietnam with the massive support of Red China and Soviet Union were getting more intense. Many of our young men and women enlisted to the armed forces. 2/3 of the nearly 2,600,000 troops were served in Vietnam were volunteers. I'm sure you still remember the day you said goodbye to your mom and dad and your loved ones and headed to the country that you knew nothing about. Dear my Vietnam veterans, you will answer the call of the President Kennedy, who said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. These men and women were willing to sign up for the officers and delay pursuing their personal dreams. You have shown that you put your country first. Enjoy this noble cause. Our Vietnam veterans were the men and women of their times. You gave the energy, the faith, and the devotion to this endeavor. Freedom for all. You understood the cause of freedom and fought for that noble cause in spite of the great dangers. Vietnam and the North Vietnamese army, which consistently terrorized, tortured, and executed civilians at their standard part of war strategy. During the Tet Offensive, they executed over 3,000 civilians just in the city of Hue alone. My dear Vietnam veterans, the United States military never lost a battle during the war. The United States military definitely did not lose Vietnam. The United States military left Vietnam on the order of its politicians. The conquest of South Vietnam by the North Vietnam turned the country into the nightmare for our people. The darkest day in our history resulted from the fall of Saigon, and thereafter, millions of innocents tried to flee their homeland and died by hundreds of thousands in many different ways. I myself, as a young boy, have escaped 11 times. The wound and the sufferings are still with me until today. President Ronald Reagan said, ending a conflict is not so simple. Calling it off and coming home. Because the price for that kind of peace could be 1,000 years of darkness for generations Vietnam born. It is so true. The whole country of Vietnam had been in darkness. The entire country of Vietnam is now in agony. What kind of peace without freedom? Peace, freedom, and liberty had to work together. Once our president, Thomas Jefferson, said, when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. The fear for the people, for the Vietnam Communist regime, is tremendous in the last several decades. Vietnam veterans, thank you so much for everything you did for us. Please be proud that you step up and served your country in fighting for 15 million men, women, and children of South Vietnam. My Vietnam veterans, thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak with you today. But this is not just my voice, it's the voice of the entire people of South Vietnam. You are always our heroes. Please accept these grateful words from our hearts and our souls. Thank you so much for your service and sacrifice in fighting in your morale and noble cause on our behalf. God bless you and thank you. Thank you and welcome home. Welcome home. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hu. That's a thank you of a difference.
And salute. Ready, tip.